Hello, everybody. Angel Arts here. Um, this is a video response recording that I am making for a fellow YouTuber friend of mine. Uh, this is someone who I have the utmost respect for, someone that I greatly, deeply admire. His name is DawnforgedCast, also known as Andrew. And if there are any of you out there who are very big on tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, or any really RPG tabletops in general, DawnforgedCast has a fantastic YouTube channel. He basically specializes in making videos that are essentially workshops slash seminars, like how to be a better DM, how to role play better, uh, chock full of, he's got a whole bunch of videos about encounters that he's designed, so really some pretty awesome stuff. Anyway, the reason I am making this video response is because he wanted to ask a question to his viewers, which I thought would be really fun for me to answer. And basically, he wanted people to video respond to him about if they were a character in one of their favorite tabletop RPG systems, what would their abilities be? What would their stats be? What would their class be, their race be, and all that good stuff. So I'm warning you right now, this video is going to be extremely nerd-tastic, very geek overload. So just be fair warned. I guess since I am most familiar with the Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeons and Dragons system, that's what I'm going to be basing my character design on. It's going to be mostly 4th edition, but I'm also very familiar with 3.5. So I'm just to make it easier, I'm going to be making a character based mostly on 4th edition with a sprinkling of 3.5, and I'm going to explain why there's a sprinkling of. Most people start out by defining their ability scores, but instead I think I'm going to define my race first, because your race kind of determines what your ability score bonuses are. I mean, I could just say human, because I am a human in real life, but considering how I am in a non-dominant race. I mean, I'm a brown folk. I'm one of the fellow brown people, and because of that, I feel like I would be a different race from human in a fantasy setting. So I was thinking about it, and I'm a very spiritual person, dare I say religious person. I have a tendency to have an affinity towards celestial beings. I mean, that's part of the reason why my nickname is Hark the Herald Angel. You know, angel arts, like angels is pretty much a big part of who I am. And so I feel like if I was going to be a character, it would be one that was celestial touched. And in 4th edition, it's known as that race is known as a Deva, not Diva. Deva, spelled D-E-V-A. And in 3.5, they're known as Aasimars. Aasimars, I think, is how they're pronounced. I kind of feel, though, that I would be more of an Aasimar because they look human. They can be mistaken for being human. Whereas the Devas are traditionally, they're humanoid, but they've got like purplish skin, and they've got the white Storm from X-Men eyes. And I don't know if I would necessarily look that much different from humans, so I would make myself an Aasimar. And their ability modifiers, I'm just gonna call it an Aasimar reflavored. It's a Deva reflavored as an Aasimar, but they apparently get a bonus to, I think they get a bonus to, yeah, Wisdom, +2 to wisdom, and then +2 to either intelligence or charisma. And I'll get into that as I talk about my ability scores, I suppose. I'm going to try my very hardest to be as honest as possible, um, because I don't want to just throw up, high scores just because I think I would be effective, because that's not what this exercise is all about. I pretty much went into the D&D character builder for 4th edition, and decided to make an actual legal character using the point buy system. I didn't want to use the dice rolling system because I feel like point buy is just easier to work with. And essentially, if you don't know what a point buy system is, it's just when you're creating your character and you're trying to define your ability scores, you have a pool of points that you can spend to increase your different abilities, your different attributes. And the higher you want to increase your attributes, the more expensive the points become as you go up that ladder. So I think we'll start with the physical attributes, because I think that'll be the easiest for me to do, because I don't really excel in any of the physical attributes really all that much. Strength, for example. Growing up, especially as from a kid to a teenager, I was exceptionally scrawny. Very scrawny, very skinny. I was a marshmallow. There were girls grades lower than me who would threaten to beat me up. Like, I definitely would not have considered myself physically strong by any means. So when I first was thinking about it, I was tempted to just give myself an 8 right off the bat, because I think legally that's the lowest score you can give yourself in 4th edition. But, and 10, by the way, for those of you who don't know, a 10 essentially is the average attribute for a specific ability score. But recently, I think within the last several years, I have tried to become I tried to do a lot more in terms of fitness, not only through cardio, but also I've been lifting weights more. So I'm definitely not, definitely not muscly by any means, but I think at this point I'm about average. So I would give myself a 10 in strength. The next attribute is constitution. Constitution essentially is your hardiness, how well you're able to resist, I guess, pain, damage, physical damage to yourself, how well you're able to resist diseases and things like that. I don't get sick very often at all. Growing up, I never really had any major diseases. I have a very minor asthma. At least I was diagnosed with very minor asthma when I was a little kid, but I never actually ended up needing an inhaler. Yeah, I mean, besides my eyesight, I don't really have much of a health issues, and allergies, of course. So, but at the same time, I don't really consider myself very hardy at all. I'm not a fan of pain. I mean, nobody's a fan of pain, but I'm really not a fan of pain. I hate needles. In fact, I would never get a tattoo or a piercing, because I would never pay someone to inflict pain on me unless it was for, health reasons. So I kind of would give myself an 8 in constitution, just because I don't know, I just don't consider myself to be able to take that much from people physically. So dexterity. I am pretty klutzy. I'd be the first to admit that I tend to be a pretty clumsy person. That being said, as a gamer, I guess naturally I must have some hand-eye coordination, and I also do music theater as well as a hobby. So I'm assuming, just this last performance, I actually was somehow cast as a dancer. So even though I don't really dance all that great, so I must have I must be at least average in dexterity, I figure. So that gives me a 10 for dexterity. Now we are moving away from the physical attributes and moving more towards, I guess, the mental attributes. Um, Intelligence. I mean, everybody knows what intelligence is. Uh, in terms of book smarts, um, I've always been a very good student. Like when I was in school, I took my schoolwork very seriously. I was extremely studious, um, valedictorian in middle school. In high school, I entered into a magnet school actually, in the science and technology program. I love sciences. I love math. And then when I graduated, I was in the top 5 percentile of my class, in a magnet school. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm fairly high up in the intelligence. Um, when I think I would actually probably give myself it's a 17. I mean, that might seem, I don't know. I feel like I'm bragging a little too much when I give myself a 17, but I don't know. I just feel like that honestly is where I would put myself. And after I figured out my ability scores, to create a legal character, it's possible for me to be able to have this layout with a 17 ended up being in my intelligence score. Um, Wisdom essentially is a character's ability to be insightful, I guess. Wisdom is a little bit different from intelligence in that wisdom, I think, is more about common sense, whereas intelligence, I guess, is more about logic and being able to learn. Um, Maybe I should look at that. Um, I mean, according to the book, it says wisdom measures your common sense, perception, self-discipline, and empathy. You use your wisdom score to notice details, sense danger, and get a read on other people. Um, I think I have a pretty decently high wisdom as well, just because I consider myself to be a very empathic person. I definitely can read people. I think I can read people very well. I have a tendency to know when people are lying to me, and I guess that helps in my wisdom as well. And even growing up as a kid, I think even when I was little, like in elementary school, a lot of adults and teachers always told me that I was wise beyond my years. And I think because of that, I would probably be above average in terms of wisdom. And in general, I'd like to believe that I'm very strong-willed. I even in high school, I never gave in to peer pressure. I mean, I I'd like to believe that I stayed pretty true to myself and I just followed the beat of my own drum. And I embraced diversity. I embraced being different from other people. It never bothered me. I never really tried to, do something just because everybody else did it. Um, and if you watch my LPs, you can kind of see that I like the fact that I'm unique, or I like the fact that I'm different. And sometimes I make decisions, and I'm in the minority when I make certain decisions, and that's okay. I feel that's okay. In fact, I feel great when I do that because I think that it adds variety, and I think that it adds a it's nice to have different perspectives on things like that, especially when you're dealing with decisions that are morally gray, where you can argue one way or another whether something is right or wrong. So I think my wisdom score would be the base would be 13, but with my race, that actually bumps it up another 2 to 15, and I think that sounds about right. I don't think I'm nearly as wise as I am intelligent because certain things do go over my head. I can be a little naive at times about certain things. So I think that's the only reason why I wouldn't rank myself as equally intelligent as I am wise. Um, and then next is charisma. Charisma can be about pure physical attraction, but it also is your force of personality, persuasiveness, and leadership, according to the book. Um, I would put myself pretty high on charisma. In fact, I think of all of the, to be honest, of all 6 of the ability scores, I think charisma probably would be my highest one. I don't know, I'm a huge social butterfly. I love reaching out to people. If we're both in a party and uh, you don't necessarily know very many people there at all, and everyone around you is talking and chatting and having a great time, and you're kind of just in your little corner just hanging out. um, I have the tendency to gravitate towards the people who don't seem to have anyone to talk to, and just try to engage them, try to include them. I'm a very inclusive person. I'm always trying to get people included in a fun setting like a party, or bringing them into a conversation. Pretty much my entire life, I have taken and loved, enjoyed taking leadership positions. A lot of people have a huge fear of public speaking. I loved, even as a little kid, I loved speaking in front of a large audience. In fact, the larger the audience, the more comfortable I felt. So, I feel like I make friends very, very quickly. I think that also goes with my ability to read people very well. Um, and I don't know, just socializing just comes really natural to me. And even though I may not be classically the most physically attractive person, I mean, I don't know, I would probably put myself on average at best in terms of pure physical attraction, pure physical attraction. But I think I make up for that with my ability to reach out to people, and to be very social. Um, I tend to be a peacemaker. I tend to be the one that tries to talk, to mediate between my friends who get into arguments, and a lot of them tend to come to me in order to resolve an issue. So I guess that goes hand in hand also with my wisdom as well. My base for charisma I put down as a 15, but then again with my race as an Asimar/Deva, that bumps me up another 2 to 17 charisma. So the lineup is 10 strength, 8 constitution, 10 dex, 17 intelligence, 15 wisdom, and 17 charisma. In terms of alignment, I'm going to be dipping into 3.5 again, because 4th edition, they have far fewer alignments than in 3.5, and I liked the alignment system in 3.5 much better. There's two different scales that you can measure yourself in 3.5. You can either, you can either be good or evil, or somewhere in between, neutral in terms of your good and evil scale. And then independent of that, you can also be lawful or chaotic. And just because you're chaotic doesn't necessarily mean you're evil, and just because you're lawful doesn't necessarily mean you're good. You can be lawful chaotic, lawful neutral, chaotic good, chaotic neutral, chaotic. There's basically 9 different things you can be in 3.5. I immediately identify with myself as neutral good. I'd like to think of myself as a good person, and someone who tries to be good. For those of you who want to define good versus evil, we can get into a debate about that, but I'm not going to. So, and then I'm a law-abiding person. For the most part, I am more lawful than I am chaotic. But at the same time, especially within the last decade, I understand that there are gray areas. There are a lot of gray areas, actually, and I think because of that, I don't see myself as being purely lawful good at all. I guess if you really want to be technical, I guess I am neutral good with a leaning towards lawful, but I'm not going to get too complicated with that. So neutral good it is. In terms of class, I'm the kind of person who wants to try everything, anything and everything. I want to learn about everything and try to experience. I'm always interested in experiencing something new. So in that case, I'd like to kind of try. I lean more towards being jack of all trades, master of none. Um, I am extremely flexible in the sense that I am very intelligent when it comes to like logical things, maths and science, but at the same time I have a very strong artistic side too, because I love singing, I love theater and those kind of things. So I'm just as artsy as I am, you know, doing engineering stuff, and plus, I mean, it's more than just bards being the artsy class because, yeah, I mean, I'm a very artsy person, but at the same time, I think bards also have a lot of cunning. They have to have not only good charisma, but great intelligence, which is why in 4th edition, I decided to specifically be a cunning bard. There's like 3 different parts, and cunning bards are bards that uses not only charisma, but also intelligence. Um, and since I'm strong in both, with an ability score of 17 on both, it just seemed like a perfect fit for me. Um, but bards are also, they're known as the diplomatizers, the peacemakers. They tend to be the ones who talk first, try to solve a problem by talking, and that really is me a lot. And bards also have a tendency um, to want to perform. They want to entertain people. They want to make people have fun and feel good, and that definitely is me. They're very creative. I'm constantly trying to come up with new things for my friends to experience, whether it comes with food, whether it comes to, part of like some crazy idea that I'm going to have for my next birthday party, things like that. Um, I love thinking out of the box, and I think that's what helps me, when it comes to my job in engineering or when it comes to my hobbies with theater and arts and all that, with theater and the performing arts and all that good stuff. As a person, I see myself as being more of a support class. I don't see myself as focusing on dealing as much damage as possible. I don't, no, I see myself as the kind of person who tries to be there for his party, like try to bolster them, try to encourage them, inspire them. That's the kind of thing that I really see myself doing if I was, in a fantasy world. I would be choosing powers that didn't benefit me. I would be choosing powers that benefited other people, that benefited my friends, that benefited my party. And because that's what I think is what my personality is like. I have a tendency, to a fault, it sometimes bites me in the butt, but I have a tendency to put other people before myself. And, I'm very dependent on other people, and I think that as a bard, a lot of your success does depend on your party, just as much as the party depends on the bard. So it's that give and take thing that I think appeals to me a lot, and why I feel like a bard really is what I would be in a fantasy world. In terms of skills, so I can have 4 trained skills. By default, I get Arcana, which I guess can be put into, I don't know, math and science, I guess. I guess you can translate it to that in real life terms. But I also chose diplomacy. That was pretty much a given. Insight, because I'd like to think of myself as being a very insightful person. I threw in heal because I think also I'm a very nurturing person. And I guess heal kind of fit because the other skills just didn't seem to fit very much with me, so I threw in heal, as well as religion, again, because, because of I do have knowledge in religion as a spiritual person, not only my own religion, but also other religions, because I always love learning about other religions besides my own, because I always find the topic very fascinating. And last but not least, for feats, I chose Bard of all Trades because it essentially, it basically gives you a +3 bonus to all untrained skills. And that goes back to just me wanting to be exposed to as many things as possible, especially things that I am not particularly knowledgeable or very weak on. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if any of you necessarily found that entertaining at all, but I thought that it was a really fun exercise to really get me to start thinking about myself and who I am, and how I guess I see myself as. So, Andrew, thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope you enjoyed watching my response to your video, and I look forward to more video responses in the future. So until next time, folks, love yourselves, love each other.